This is not a balanced thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a neutral thing
Right.
where when we say work on your marriage because it takes work, it seems very fair, it seems very neutral, it seems very balanced that both the male and the female should work. That's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
person that needs to work on the marriage is the male. And that male should not work on the marriage when he's married. That male should work on the marriage before he gets into marriage.
All right, welcome back, guys, to Marriage Matters, where we discuss the matters concerning marriage and relationship. And we're glad that you're here. We're glad that you've tuned in to listen as we're talking specifically about preparation in terms of relationship for the females. What are some practical things that we can look at? What are some practical things that women can look for? And so get your device or your notepad, or if you're somebody that takes mental notes, however it works for you, great. But that's what we're gonna be talking about in this segment. So Mr. Arthurs, how are you, sir?
Good day. I'm good, Shane. I am ready for this challenge here of equipping, no? I'm always looking forward for opportunities like this to assist others. Yeah.
Education applied becomes experience. Yeah. So where do we start today? Where do you want to first start, Mr. Arthurs, when it comes to the practicality of preparing, especially as we're talking about females? What's one of the first things that you want to talk about?
Preparing is a very good state. It's a very good place to be in because it says a lot of things. But in preparing, we can ask ourselves questions. And being able to answer questions is the main thing. So a question is one of the things that precedes preparing. We have to ask ourselves a question. What are we getting into? What are we doing? And based on the answer for that, then we can start moving. So the question for me in preparing is, what is the right frame of mind for one to have when they are preparing, for females to have when they are preparing? And the answer to that would be to say to ladies, the important thing here is your attitude. And we're not talking about an attitude that somebody has when they're upset or when they are talking to somebody. I'm talking about a way of thinking. When you're getting into a relationship, your attitude should be one that you are in there to investigate. That should be the attitude. So it should be the attitude comprise everything you do, where your heart is, how you think, how you analyze, and an attitude means that you encompass all the necessary ingredients that will give you the opportunity to evaluate. Okay? Because for you to get in a relationship, dating for a lady is being in an attitude of investigation. You're always investigating. You should never be dating as a female and not be investigating. Every opportunity should be an opportunity to investigate. And so that is the first question you have to answer. How will I prepare? Be in the right attitude. And the right attitude is one where you are constantly investigating. We could say just that.
So I have a go ahead.
Yeah, we could say just that, and it would be fine for females to receive, no? To understand. Go ahead, though.
Yeah, no, well, so I have a question in terms of investigation. Does this mean that the female is on guard? Is she guarded?
Well, I like the direction of that question, and I would have to agree. We're encouraging the females to be on guard. You want to guard your heart. You're instructed in the manual to guard your heart. And so it is the job of the male to get behind that guard. The problem we have today is that many females, their guard is very weak, almost non-existent. And so we want to put up a guard after we get with a man. No? That is not the time to want to put up your guard. Start now.
Right.
So yes, I would
Right.
agree, or I would admit to
Okay.
saying that keep your guard up at all times.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
You
All
know?
right. That's why I had to ask too, because that's what I'm hearing. And again, we're thinking practically. So I wanted to see what that mean. Where does she stand with her emotions? Where does she stand with the affections? And so yeah, thank you for answering that. Yeah, you can go ahead, bro. You're doing great.
Yeah. Aside from your guard, the attitude is also one where you are not afraid to be generous with testing.
Mm,
You should be very generous with testing. Whenever you're
mm,
doing something important, there are a lot of tests that go out. If you're building a
mm,
foundation,
mm-hmm,
the technicians, they will come and they will break the cement. If they are doing cement
mm,
work, they are going to take a
mm-hmm,
sample of that cement and break it. If it doesn't withstand a certain amount of
mm-hmm.
pressure, they will tear down the whole foundation and we have to go over. That is
Mm-hmm.
the importance of testing. If you're cooking, you want to
Right.
see if it has enough salt, you'll test. There's nothing wrong with testing. Testing will ensure you get a proper product.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a part of the attitude also, in terms of you're not only having up your guard, which might seem a bit defensive, but you
Mm,
also, which is very important, you also want to
mm-hmm.
include offense as in any good game. You want to have offense,
Mm-hmm.
and that is testing. You see?
Right. 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 Yeah. And so I guess what would you say, or what point in time should she let that? Is there a place when she lets her guard down? When is that okay? Because I am, and I agree with keeping the guard up, but as they're
Mm-hmm.
investigating, are there signs that they look for that they should look for that will help them to know, hey, okay, I can begin to really trust this person, or and let my guard down.
Yeah.
That's my question.
Yeah. There are times when you can begin to work on letting down your guard. I would say
Mm-hmm.
that the best
Mm-hmm.
time to let down your guard as a female is after you say I do.
Right,
You know,
right, right,
uh,
right.
we have many situations where women are, oh, I love you, I love you. First thing in the manual, it doesn't say wives love your husband,
Mm-hmm.
and they're so busy loving their boyfriends
Mm-hmm.
that they let down their guard and they disregard red flags,
Mm-hmm.
and they might disregard yellow flags.
Mm-hmm.
So what is a yellow flag? Well, I heard this term from a good friend, and a yellow flag is similar to traffic lights, where it's a warning that a red flag is coming up. When you're dating
Mm-hmm.
and a person does something that you're not sure, but something in your heart feels this is wrong, this doesn't feel correct, I don't like how this sounded, how it went, that might be a yellow
Mm-hmm.
flag. You know, for example, this person comes and there's a little argument you have, and the person shouts at you with a rage.
Yeah.
That's a yellow flag, like a yellow light.
Uh-huh.
That is an
Yeah.
indication, a symbol that sooner or later, this person might get into hitting it. It sounds violent.
Mm-hmm.
Why would he operate with you with that level of rage? Especially
Mm-hmm.
if it's unaccounted for.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be a yellow flag, no? A lady might say, well, how does this look? We've heard some things, and how do we get even more practical in terms of being able to prepare for a relationship? And so these are some of the
Mm-hmm.
things that we encourage you to look to. So
Mm-hmm.
the other point I would want to encourage women in is to look at men in their lives. In the same manner, I grew up around three older sisters. We were close in age, and I
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot about dealing with females by being around them. And I also take opportunity to observe females in my life everywhere I go, and I practice on them. I practice on how to understand them, understand how they think. Likewise, a lady can do this for males. There are many males around you in your lives. Teachers, your father, of course, teachers, coaches, you name it. You will meet males all over. You policemen, traffic officers, you'll meet males. At school, you'll meet males. This is the time to practice. So at home, you learn, well, you have to cook, you have to learn to cook, you have to learn to wash and brush your teeth. Man won't want you. Well, mommy, this is the time for you to practice on what kind of man you choose. And this is a great opportunity. Look at men in your lives. To do this takes time. You can't rush it because you'll be observing men in your lives that you're around. To do this takes intelligence and effort. If you don't want to think and you just want to accept any journey that comes along, then you're playing lotto with your life. You might draw the right card or you might draw a wrong card. Do I see a thought coming there?
Yeah. So what does she do? Because I like the point that you're making of observing the male and the men in she should be observing the male in her life, the different men. But what does she do if there's not a right model in her life, and then what does she do with the wrong models in her life as she's observing?
I really, really appreciate that question. That's a very, very good question. And I would say that you turn the negative into positives. So if there's a wrong model in her life that is hurting her, then we have systems that can take care of that, and that person should be reported.
Right.
And this can be years afterwards. It doesn't matter. You report the person. You know, that person needs to be taken off the streets, because today that person hurts you, tomorrow that person hurts somebody else. And that person doesn't belong on the street. That person needs help, needs therapy, etc. So one is to report, but maybe the person is not hurting you, but the person might be, and I should use the word not hurting you, because sometimes men can be abusive with words, and mothers too. I'm just dealing with men right now, fathers and uncles and older brothers, and so we can sometimes be abusive with words or physically. It doesn't have to be only sexually abusive, but physically or with words. And I encourage you to remember how you feel, because there's a lot of times when people would say that you might not be able to remember what happened to you exactly, but you remember how it made you feel.
How you felt, right?
How you felt. And so take that feeling and nurture it. And you might say, wow, you are telling me to remember and not to forget, and forgive and forget. I'm not saying to not forgive, but I'm saying to take that feeling and nurture it. Try to remember how that behavior made you feel. And so when you have that experience, anywhere you go and that feeling comes back. So you're with a gentleman and that feeling comes back. Maybe you notice the way he spoke to somebody in a restaurant while you're on a date, and that feeling comes back. That's a check. That's a yellow flag. You see? So that is very good a very good question you asked, because when you have people that are bad examples and not good in your life, then that is an opportunity for you to store up a base, a knowledge base of what you don't want.
Right.
You see? And so when somebody comes with beside you with those attributes, then you can send that person back home to bake a little bit more. You know, they came out the oven too early. And it doesn't matter if they're 60 years old. Yeah. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Great. Very good. I like that. That's good that you can you can and I like that because in life you learn from right examples, but you can also learn from other people's wrong examples.
Right. Right.
So yes. Yeah.
And
All
and
right.
and the idea
But
behind this is that,
mm-hmm,
let's say you're at home, and
mm-hmm,
okay, you're at home, maybe you live only with mommy, so there's no man
mm-hmm,
at home.
mm-hmm,
But when you go to a party, or when you go to visit a relative, you can observe how that
mm-hmm,
marriage operates. How does the
mm-hmm,
wife speak about the husband when he's not around? How does he speak to her? Do you see him caring for her? Do you see him demeaning her? Does
mm-hmm,
she complain? What does she complain about? And listen. Listen, because this is what you, instead of judging the lady,
mm-hmm.
understand she is a mirror.
A
So now
reflection,
that
right?
she is a mirror, look to see what is she reflecting, and look at the man. Look at the man to see, is it real? Is she just making this up? What is she complaining about?
Mm-hmm,
And you observe
mm-hmm.
that. Don't get busy judging. Your job is to judge the person, or evaluate, if I would use that word, evaluate the
Right,
person that
right,
you are going with. But at this
right.
point, look at that man. If you see a woman that's happy and looks young, and she looks young for her age, then you want to
Mm.
find out how is that man, and then you might find well, maybe she doesn't have a man, and that is why. But the ones that have a man
Mm-hmm.
and they look that way, you want to look at that man. What does he, what attributes does he exemplify? And maybe you might want to ask that lady, tell me about your husband. And when you see a lady speaking well about her husband, that is a husband that you want to to look for, a type of husband, that type you would
I
want to
like
look
that.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Yeah. Nice. I like it. And again, it's one of the things that I just want to inject here as we're talking. And it's women, consider the costs, count the costs, consider very well. All of this is actually to push you, if I could use the word, or to engage you in really considering um the man you're looking for, or you're looking at, or you're interested in. It's to really count the cost, as we would say, um considering and weighing and calculating as best as possible. So yeah. So
Yes.
what else we got going on for us, Mr. Artist?
Well, I just want to repeat this, that and remind women,
Mm-hmm.
to date properly takes time,
Mm-hmm.
it takes intelligence, and it
Mm-hmm.
takes effort. If you are not
Mm-hmm.
putting out these three things, you are not dating. You are not dating properly. You are going on outings.
Yeah.
You see?
So let me stitch this for you quickly. You gotta tie yourself in dating. Time, in intelligence, and effort. You gotta tie
Wow.
yourself in. So I give it to you.
Nice.
So remember it real quickly. You got to tie yourself in dating, ladies. Time, intelligence, and effort.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Sorry. Go
I love
ahead.
it.
Go ahead.
Don't do that to me. That's very nice. That's right. You tie yourself, and that is kind of like putting up your guard. You know,
Uh-huh.
it it it
Uh-huh.
it limits
Uh-huh.
your movement. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, I love it. I love it. So since we're there, uh, let me follow what I have here. The next point I'd like to bring up is, one of the ways you prepare is by looking for diseases.
Mm-hmm.
And this
Mm-hmm.
might not be a very popular thing, but you look for diseases.
Mm-hmm.
So you ask the person, let's go and do a medical test. You want to
Mm-hmm.
date me? I want to see your
Yes.
hospital
Yeah.
records,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
that might not be a deal breaker for you. And if it's not, then fine. But you go and do a test, especially if you're dating and
Mm-hmm.
you're in your mid-40s, if you're around
Mm-hmm.
30, and you meet someone that is in their 30s, 40s, it is very unlikely that that is the person's first date. You see? And if the person was a person that sleeps around a lot, then it's good to do a test. Because when a person sleeps with another one, that means he has slept or she has slept with everybody that that person has slept with. Because every time you sleep with someone, you leave a piece of yourself. You know, how many
carrying a piece too.
And you're carrying a piece too. So how many pieces are you sleeping with? And then here comes the need for a test. So you want to beat me, and you look and a perfect opportunity. My question here is, how does he respond when you make requests like these? When you say to him, let's do a test, well, how does he respond? Does he try to evade you? Does he get angry? Does he mock you? You know? Does he tend to want to attack you because with words, verbally, because you asked that question? You're observing all of this. How does he respond? But it's okay to ask for a medical test.
Of course.
After it comes back, if you are happy with what is there, then you go ahead. You might have deal breakers, and the medical test will help you to know that. So how do you prepare? Get the medical test.
I like that.
If the person is 30, 35, 40, and it's a male, I can guarantee you, I can almost totally guarantee you, this is not his first relationship.
Right. You know, I like that because I remember seeing this in a case study a while ago where there was a couple being taking premarital counseling, and this was requested by the marriage officer.
Yeah.
And the male refused. He didn't want to do it.
Wow.
And so you know, for me, when we were observing that case study, I was like, that's a red flag for me. Why is it that because and then you said something, you know, it may not be a deal breaker for her, but coming back to counting the cost, it will help you as a woman to practice to count the cost. Let's say something comes back that you find out and you say, well, I'm going to commit anyway. Remember, you're making up your mind to say that I will, in spite of this, or something came up that showed you, nah, I can't, I'm not willing to consider this in a long-term relationship.
Yes.
And for me personally, I remember I was single at the time, and I was considering, am I gonna get married in the near future? But one of the things that helped me to settle that was I had to go do a test, you know, and I'm not here boasting about the past. It's just, it was a reality of where I came from. You know, kind of like a bit of a promiscuous past. And so I was like, you know what? One of the ways I'm going to know that I can get married and settle down is I have to do this test. And I namely had to do an AIDS test, right? I needed to know, because it wouldn't have been fair for me if that test had come back positive. It wouldn't have been fair to the person that wants to get, you understand? So I'm just saying all this to reinforce what you're saying, that it's not, may not be popular, it may not be quote unquote the sexiest thing to do, but there's a lot of wisdom in it, and it's helping you. This is how you're considering and counting the cost before you get into this relationship. It's very good.
That is one of the bigger diseases that's out there, but there are many sexually transmitted diseases, and you have to know that whether or not the person you get with, especially as a female, and even for males, it's this one is a two-way street. You have to know, because you may have a disease that when you marry to this person, you have to be taking medication for the rest of your life, because you'll be itching and scratching and having, you know, bumps or, you know, these little red dots on your skin. And in case of AIDS, it's fatal, and your whole life will change. And there are actually people that they are actually intentionally going around sleeping with people, and they know that they have the AIDS disease.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
So So getting a test is again, if the person feels bad, do you want to not let somebody feel bad or you feel bad for the rest of your life because now you have to take medication, getting a disease that you did not be careful to check. And if you don't want to count the cost as you are saying, that's fine, but just understand that there is a cost.
Can I add one more thing? I just came to my mind. I remember, this is real what I'm gonna say, that there is a young lady that I've known, and she married very quickly to somebody that she had just met. And wow. When I think about on that situation, I think, you know, she had like a rough environment that she was in, and I guess she saw a way out in this guy.
Yeah.
He came with a lot of hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
And they got married and had a kid, and then in the relationship found out that they all have AIDS.
Wow.
And it was him.
Wow.
And I remember when that news came out, like, we felt for her. And it's just something that you have to think about. And I said that not to scare you, but just to get you considering the cost. You hear me saying it so much in this segment. Yeah. You know, and I can't emphasize it too much.
Yeah. It's that's very good, you know. Yeah, it can't be emphasized. It can't be overemphasized. And it is you counting the cost. If you love the person so much, since you're using the word love, that is not a deal breaker, and you're willing to die for this person, which is what a man is required, the way he's required to love his wife. If that's the timing you're on, then, you know, fine. Do what you need to do. But just be aware that it is not wrong to do a test. Maybe after you do the test, you might decide, well, you'll always have to use some type of protection for your own safety. You know, and that type of thing. It's just, and let's not fool ourselves to think that it's only sexually that this disease is transmitted. A person can get this disease from drugs, the use of drugs. And all these, including sex, is the problem where the manufacturer tells us how to live and we want to disobey. We want to sleep with who we want, when we want. And that's fine. You have all authority to do that in your own body. You have dominion over your body. But there's a cost that comes with it, you know. I want to jump in and say this too. I've heard this a lot of times, being around different religious groups, where people come and say God told them to get married. They're saying the manufacturer told them to get married. I have a belief on this, and I don't believe that the manufacturer tells you who to get married to. He allows you to make your choice. Because when things get the other way, you will want to blame him. So you make the choice. He doesn't make the choice for you. You can even make the choice to choose someone that he doesn't approve of, if that's what you're saying. At the end of the day, you make the choice. Many people come to you and tell you, God says we should get together. They get together, and when it's time to break up, they don't go back and check God. God has nothing to do with it, because if God told you to get together, then you have no business breaking up. Because now you're disobeying God. And he says that marriage is something that is a lifetime. It's until death. So what business you have breaking up when God told you to get together? You're disobeying God now. So we need to be very careful of that when we are preparing for marriage, and we want to say that God told us. Well, just keep that in mind. In preparing, even though God told you, make sure that that man is not a wretch.
And prepare to work in your marriage, ladies, and men. We're talking to ladies, but men too. Why I say this, just on your point, is because what you said is very common in religious circles, for sure. And so people want to take that and feel like, well, if God said so, everything's going to be automatic, smooth sailing.
Yeah.
As much as some people believe in, whether you believe in soulmates or not, or someone is meant for you or not, if you're believing someone's meant for you and you're meant to be, great. But that does not exempt that you need to work at your relationship.
Yeah.
Somehow we feel like, oh, because it's meant to be, um, that exempts intentionality and work.
Yeah.
Any marriage relationship takes work. It takes intentionality. It takes investment. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's two imperfect beings coming together to be one, and there's going to be some clashes there, and it's possible to work. So I was going to add that on your point that
Yeah.
whether a soulmate's meant to be or not, and if you believe that's fine, but either way, it takes work. It takes work.
I agree with you, and I also have something to add that might kind of tweak in my thinking that statement, because a lot of people do believe that it takes work. And I just want to clarify who it takes work from. This is not a balanced thing. This is not a neutral thing where when we say work on your marriage because it takes work, it seems very fair and it seems very neutral. It seems very balanced that both the male and the female should work. That's not how it works. The person that needs to work on the marriage is the male. And that male should not work on the marriage when he's married. That male should work on the marriage before he gets into marriage. So if I tell you, you're going to be a driver of a car, and now I pair you with a car, and I tell you and the car, both of you guys have equal responsibility to work on your marriage, then no, that's not how it works. The responsibility rests heavily. It's off balance. If it's a seesaw, it's going to be done only on the side of the male. That is where the responsibility lies.
Right.
So working on the marriage is a responsibility of the male. Now, remember, the female is a mirror. The female is an incubator. So if that male works on the marriage, then he will be working on what he gives the wife. The wife will automatically reflect what is in front of her. She will automatically take what a man gives her, multiply it, and gives him back. So, and that is automatic. If you do anything for a lady and you know what you're doing, you're going to get back. If she's quarreling with you, if she's unhappy all the days, you are working on the marriage, but you're working on it in a negative way. Because if you do what is required from you as a man, she will respond immediately, adequately to it. So I want to say that so for the lady in preparation, that statement, you need to understand that statement is not for you. If you want to take it on and take on more than you need to take on, then that's your purview. That's your prerogative. You can. But working on that marriage, you should work on it during dating and make sure you choose somebody that you don't have to let them work on themselves during marriage.
No, that was going to be my question. Should she be in preparing and talking practically? What is it that she should be prepared to do? But I think you just said her preparation is in the dating, right?
That's right. So you don't wait. Let's say the man is let's say you say, well, you will hear the statement, and I'm trying to bring balance to the statement, and I'm saying that it is not a balanced statement, that you don't work together on your marriage. So whenever I'm meeting with anybody, I don't want to see the wife. I meet the wife the first time. I ask to meet the wife, and I look in the wife because she's the mirror, and I see what is reflecting from her. After that, I say, Mommy, thank you. I appreciate you. You next week, you don't need to be here. I'll meet with Daddy for the rest of the time. And I meet with that male because the mirror reflects. So after she reflects what he's doing and what he's not doing, I don't need to see her again. The only next time I want to see her is when he tells me everything is going beautiful. Then I want to see her for her to come back, and I look in her reflection. If she comes back smiling and wants to know what miracle happened, over these couple of weeks, these 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks, then I'm satisfied to say, okay, the mirror has spoken. Go ahead, you guys, you're free, you know. And so in preparing, you don't say, well, this man treats his mother bad, which is another point I wanted to bring up. And so let me bring that point if I can. And I've said it before, so I just quickly go over it. That another point here in preparing is watch the way he treats women in his life. Watch the way. So you see him. I'll talk about this student. I had a student once and he came back to class. He had a phone in his class and the teacher got upset. It was a female teacher and a male student. And she punished him and let him mop and sweep the classroom. So he came to my class upset and he was, you know, all up in arms about this. So I spoke to him and he was not open for what I told him. And in no way should he have a girlfriend or be a husband. He was a teenager. But I'm just saying that attitude is an attitude that's a yellow flag. Don't get married to the person and say you're going to work on the marriage after you marry this person and you see this yellow flag before you marry him. I told him, I said,
work on the person and fix him.
Yeah, because wives, many times women think that they are fixers, that they are God's greatest gift to men in terms of training them how to be a good husband. So they get married and want to fix them. Sorry, that is not your job and that is not your authority. Anyway, so here I'm with this young man and I'm talking to him and I said to him, you know what? You don't know what problem that lady went through, how her day went. You don't know how her husband is treating her. You know, first thing they'll tell you, oh, she's having that time of the day. She's having her period, her menstruation period. That's why she has an attitude. Good. This is time for you to practice, sir. Practice on the women around you. So I told him, I said, you know, you are already at fault. You had your phone out during class when you should have been doing your class. Now you're under punishment. I think, if I remember correctly, he was given the punishment to sweep the class. I told him, no, what if you had said to that teacher, you know, ma'am, I'm totally wrong. You're all in your right. Please, you're right to punish me for this. I should not have my phone out. In fact, let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not only going to sweep the class, but I'm going to rearrange the chairs. I'm going to mop the class. And I'm going to make sure that it smells good before I leave. How differently would that teacher feel about you? You see, and this is that young man now being able to prove himself to be a good husband. But he was all up in arms and he did not listen to me. Nothing I said meant anything to him because basically he wanted to take out his phone and just get away with it. You see? So now you marry this man that doesn't understand how to treat women and he's blaming the teacher and now you want to work on him in marriage. Mommy, something is wrong. Don't marry that man. Let him get his act together. During marriage is not the time to be working on it. Because if there's anything wrong in the marriage, it's reflection.
Yeah, I think it's a good point because don't like when I was a teenager, one of the realities I found out, I can be 35, 40 and still be a teenager at heart.
Yeah.
So very, very good point. Yeah. So yeah, you have any other practical points of preparation you want to offload today, Mr. Arthurs?
Yes, I do. I think that I would kind of need to maybe cut it short or speed up. So maybe we might need to continue part 2 of this because
I feel I feel so, but I think for me, man, I'm not obviously I'm not a female, but man, for me it's been very good in terms of the practicality, how you've brought the concepts and how we're trying to let them land on life. I think was great, and I think to do justice to the rest of what you have, it would be awesome for us to do a part 2 in this practical preparation. But do you have anything else that you want to add as we close for today?
I think that so we could do a part 2, as you said. It's best for me to just throttle down here and repeat this point. Please use the men around you in your lives, women, where we are trying to be as practical as we can to help you, to let you be as practical as you can. And you mentioned earlier, Shane, about I said it in my own way, but about application of things. You said something about something when you apply education.
Education applied becomes experience.
Yeah, education applied becomes experience. Experience is another way, another part of wisdom. Okay. So hearing all this and not applying it will not do you good.
Nope, it won't.
You see? So please,
it won't do you good.
We are doing this because we care about you. We care to know that your marriage and your relationship is at its best. And so these are the practical tips to try and help you. So we're trying to be practical. So I just want to repeat this point. I think this is where I would end with. How does your uncle or your cousins or your older brother's wife appear to be? Are they happy? Do they look well taken care of? Are they complaining? And when you look at that, then you turn back now and you observe these males to see from afar. You are not there in the house, but you can pick up things when you go to visit and when you are around with them, when you are moving around with them. You can observe and you can see how they are doing by observation. It could be a neighbor. If you go home and you hear your neighbor on the top of their voices quarreling every day, and trust me, this happens. And I say I'm going to wind down, so let me calm down. This happens. I'm telling you to interfere. Not physically, but listen and see what is the wife saying. What is the husband saying? And then use the knowledge that we are trying to give you here and evaluate. Listen to what that wife is saying. That will tell you. And so, you know, I'm here and I have a neighbor that every morning you'll hear the vehicle starting. And that neighbor will take out the car for his wife. You know? And from looking from afar, it seems to be a long-lasting, well-oiled, and kept in a well-shaped relationship. And just that simple, small gesture is something that a woman can observe, that when a man is willing to do this for you, it is a statement to what else he is willing to do for you. That is the kind of man you want. I'm not saying to let this be your only mode of measuring, but we're talking about you should be in an attitude. And what is that attitude? An attitude where you are not only on defense, but you're on offense. You're not only observing, but you're testing. Be on the offense also. Test. And don't let the offense that you're being on become your tongue in the guy's mouth. That is not the kind of offense I'm talking about. That is offensive now, because you're not doing what you should be doing during dating. It's not offensive, but I mean, it's you're getting involved in passion rather than testing. And that is what I hope to end with today.
Yeah, so remember, ladies, tie yourself in dating. Tie yourself. T for it takes time.
Yeah.
All right. I for intelligence. And E takes effort. Tie yourself as you prepare in dating and relationship. All right, guys, this has been Marriage Matters. I will thank you for talking, listening, and being with us in this time. Until next time, we're hoping, as you've heard, we're hoping to continue this practical discussion in preparing for the females next time, right here on Marriage Matters. Blessings on you guys.
Take care.